we did have a crew tear a roof off around the house. And obviously we roofed that house and never asked for a penny.
Yeah, that was the beginning of a roof giveaway program. Is that what you said?
The only thing that you can count on in roofing is you cannot count on anything in roofing. And I've seen that play out time after time after time.
Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Aline, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business. Mike Cochran, APEX Roofing. How are you, man?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. How's Texas this time of year?
Unusual weather for May. It's been pretty cool, like 60s and 70s for highs. Ironically, March was warmer than May has been so far.
Oh, wow. It's awkward weather here too. I saw snow again the other day, so it's not
Not over, is it?
So it's not over. You guys are very lucky down there.
Uh-huh.
Mike, glad to have you on, man. Tell people a little bit about Apex and how your journey into roofing.
So Apex Roofing, we're based in Georgetown, Texas. We have a office in Marble Falls, Texas, which is about 50 or 60 miles from here. And it serves kind of what they call the Highland Lakes area of Texas, Lake LBJ, Buchanan Lake, Inks Lake, et cetera. And we really like that market out there. So 11 years in business. I came from an automobile dealership background and did everything I guess I wanted to do or should have done in that market, and reinvented myself. In 2014, I went to work for a roofing company. Guys were storm chasers, so I was with them to learn that business for a while, and it's kind of interesting how they did business. They chased the storm, and not something that we do today. We catch some storms in our market, but so I went to work with them to learn the business with no prior construction background whatsoever. I didn't know what a square was. I didn't know what an architectural shingle was. I knew nothing about construction. And I still don't know a whole lot about construction. But what I did know about was marketing and sales. So to me, a roof is just a commodity, as would be a car. So I was able to close deals and sell roofs. And I decided this is a good fit. I like this. So I worked with these guys in a storm here locally for a year, and then they chased a storm in northwest Arkansas, and I went with them there, and then down to Hot Springs, Arkansas. And so when I'd been in it about a year and a half, I thought, okay, I've got this figured out, I think. So I came home and formed my LLC and started at my kitchen table with just me, my truck, and here we went. And I hired a canvasser back that I used from the storm chasing days, and off we went. And slowly but surely, just we ground it out till the point now we're in 11 years, got approximately 20 employees. And obviously our crews are subcontractors, and just enjoying life.
Nice. Tell me about those early days. The car business is a grind.
Absolutely.
Do you think that helped carry over into roofing?
Yeah, I think so. The grind's different here to me.
Okay.
I'm excited for Monday morning. My wife hates for me to say that, but I'm excited that it's Monday morning because I love what we do. I love the challenge, and I love that it's different. No 2 days, it seems like, are the same. And the guys that hired me, they had a funny saying, I thought at the time, but I got it now, is the only thing that you can count on in roofing is you cannot count on anything in roofing. And I've seen that play out time after time after time.
Yes, that is for sure. I could see that being different. I've had a couple of people on that came from a car background, and the amount of activity needed to sell a car, a lot of times it was a benefit for them, right? The amount of phone calls they had to make, the amount of follow-up, and the amount of it was a good training ground.
Absolutely.
For people in that regard.
Of your question, but yes, to come back to your question.
Yeah.
It was certainly a great training ground to learn how to deal with these people, because this is not always, and just like cars, it can be a snap decision, one call close,
Yes.
but
Yep.
more than likely, you're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5 or more contacts with that person before you close that deal.
Yeah. What you said you started in storm chasing, right?
Uh-huh.
You went. Hey, there's hail here. Let's go.
Yes,
Um, but when you started your business, you became a storm catcher. And you
correct.
said, I want to establish something locally in my area. Walk me through that mindset. Why did you choose that? And, you know, why choose it in Texas, right? Because there's storms all over the place. There's money to be made, Mike. What are you
Sure.
doing just sitting there?
Sure, and I think there's companies that's their business model is to chase
Yeah.
storms, and I think that model has changed a little bit from 10 or 11 years ago. This industry has really refined itself in so many ways. It's kind of the Wild West back then, and it's not quite so that way now. But to answer that question, one, I didn't want to travel all the time. I mean, literally, I lived in a hotel for a year and a half. Uh, I just don't want to do that, and uh, I wanted to come home and build a company based on the value of delivering an exceptional customer service experience every time to certainly meet and hopefully exceed every time we can their expectation. So that even though a roof can be a lifetime situation in our market because of hail, that's not necessarily the case. We've done some roofs in a 10-year period 3 times because of hail. It's just a matter of where we live. Gets
Yeah,
hail.
definitely. And when did you realize this could work? Like I'm on to something here.
Well, I mean, it worked from day one, obviously, and
Okay.
I tell my guys, I said, ironically, my first year, full year in business was my most profitable year in terms of net profit. The bigger I get, obviously, that number goes down. That's kind of frustrating. So it makes you
You
wish
got
you
to
could have
pay people. You got to pay other people instead of just yourself, right?
exactly, and just the expenses
Uh,
to have a pretty good
yeah.
team. Now I have an office, and when I didn't have an office, etc. So yeah, just we just grounded out. I hired the canvasser guy back, and we were putting on roofs the very first month, and I cold called on some property management companies in that same market for the hailstorm, and made a good connection there. Walked in that one day, and hey, we need a roofer. Just perfect timing thing. So that sustained me getting going. We just grounded out literally, and 2 years and about a year and a half to 2 years in, then had the need to bring in another salesperson and just slowly grew it pretty much organically. Uh, Tried a lot of trial and error stuff with uh, Thumbtack and Nextdoor and Angie's and all that, and uh, lead generation companies. And you just until you know what to do or think you know what to do, you just kind of swing it at the wall. You just try everything you can.
Yeah.
Shotgun approach. Let's try this. Let's try that. Until something works and figure it out. And most of it didn't seem to work well. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It happens, right? And that's I think as you mature in business, you get to try things in a more intentional way.
yes,
Um, in the beginning,
it's
maybe it was like,
desperation.
"Hey, I'm getting these phone calls from Home Advisor. I might as well say yes at some point in time,
Yes,
right?" And you give it a shot. What what do you think in those early days with these type of lead aggregator leads and the different types of activities that you were doing? Um, did you try anything again later that worked, or did you have you just continued to go add different paths and build different marketing channels?
I've never gone back to something that I tried
Yep.
in the early days. Like we don't canvas, we don't door knock, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of comments about door. I I don't I don't think it works as well like when I talked about the industry's more refined now. I think that door knocking has become a tougher business proposition. I know it is in this market because my storm chaser friends that trained me tried to come into this market on a storm in Austin, Texas, a couple of years ago, and they left. It wasn't quite what they thought. It's a little brutal out there for them. And yeah, so I haven't ever
What
gone
do you
back to
what do
do.
you think
Go ahead.
what do you think changed? What do you think changed?
Consumer awareness, I think,
Mm.
just social media, TV stations, doing news clips about, bad companies, fly-by-night companies to the two chuck and the truck guys when the storm happens, take people's money and leave town. And there just seems to be more consumer awareness. I don't know if COVID had anything to do with it as well. Um, I'm not sure, but I just don't think that that model works.
Yeah. It can be tough, right? And I know there's been a lot of changes and
Mhm.
people's shopping behaviors have changed. The COVID definitely changed things from a door to door.
Yes. Yes.
That really, really just threw things off. Um,
And I
that
shouldn't say that it doesn't work. Let me it
it
doesn't
still
work.
works. I know
I don't want I didn't want to
some
do that.
companies doing some numbers.
Yeah, they're guys that are
They're-
very good at it, and I'm sure they could come
yeah,
into my market and dominate
yeah.
my market with it. It's just not how I want to do business. That's not how I want to be perceived in this market.
And so I love this topic, what you just said. I love the topic of businesses choose your own adventure. I like to say there's a billion ways to make $1 million,
Yeah,
right? Like
yes,
there's, and no one has to do it the same. A
correct.
lot of times when we start off, I had this conversation on a coaching call this morning in the RSRA. Um, a lot of times when we start off, we're mimicking, right? We
Mhm,
worked for a company,
mhm,
we saw what they did, and we take the things that we like and we mimic those, and then we learned a couple things that they don't like, and we changed that, right? We
mhm,
to make put our own spin on it, and then you get that to a certain level, and then you have to reinvent everything
mhm,
at a certain point and make it your own
mhm.
versus what you're doing. How was that journey for you? You knew the storm chasing side. So now you know how to hire a crew, build a roof. You knew that aspect of it. You said, okay, I'll take I know how to sell a roof.
Mhm,
I know who to contact
mhm,
to develop a relationship with that might buy a roof.
mhm,
I know you got to know a lot of these things and carry it over.
mhm.
What were the first change you made was being local
Yeah,
and not chasing storms.
yes.
What were what was the point of for you guys? And I guess I don't know if this is a good way to put it. If did you kind of see what everyone else is doing to a certain point, and then you make things your own. What have you made your own is probably the question I'm trying to ask. What has it been that's like, we're going to make this Apex. This is going to be an
Mhm.
Apex thing.
Okay. Well, when we chose to not be a door knocking company, obviously almost from the beginning, said, okay, how do we develop clients? So I hired a marketing person to go out and build relationships with property managers, real estate agents, insurance agents, and we worked that really hard. And just like anything else, there's good and bad in that. Uh, some realtors will use you, to get what they need
Huh.
to get. Yes, get what they did. But then when you do something good for one, and they go, okay, they helped me put that deal together. We had say we had an option period that ends tomorrow. These guys came in and said, yes, it needs a roof. And then we get a closing date and we need a roof like today. So we close tomorrow. We hop to those deals and we make sure those things happen so that it works out on their side. So they remember us.
Yes.
I'm very big about loyal relationships.
Mm.
Loyal to suppliers, being loyal to good customers, and not jumping around. And I think it pays off if you take care of your property managers, real estate agents, your insurance agents. They'll take care of you as well. And that's kind of how we got it going. And then
Yep.
you progress to the online marketing thing. We spend a lot of marketing money to be uh, high up in rankings on Google in search engine optimization. Uh, we're on YouTube. We're on any social media platform. We have a presence, and I'm my marketing person. That's what she does. Her title should really be content editor because that's a full time job.
Mm. Hmm.
That's a kind
When
of
you
at some point you're not the new company. It's like when you're 5, 6, 8, 10 years in business, it's like, oh yeah, we know Apex, and there's good and bad to that name. My wife picked that name, but because she thought, well, it's one of the first names, like Theory being the first in the phone book, the first in the yellow pages. The good part of Apex is there are other good Apexes, and people make you associate. Oh, I've heard of Apex, and we just go with that.
That's
Conversely,
right. Yeah.
there's bad Apexes. There was a hurricane in Florida a few years ago, and I got a guy calling me, chewing me out, and I'm not his guy. There's an Apex in Florida. Somehow he finds me on Google search results. I don't know.
Hmm.
He got a bad review from somebody in Florida. Well, I haven't been to Florida. It's a roof. So
That's right.
good and bad in the name.
It could be good and bad.
Yes.
But there are, I mean, I was looking at the roofing contractor top 100. There might be 2 or 3 or 4 Apexes on that list. So it's a good crowd to be in, Mike.
Yeah.
There's I want to start with these loyalty relationships.
Okay.
How did you know that was the path?
Really simply, the guys that I learned this from, the Storm Chasers, were partners, and one of them did business one way and one did the other way. And I will call the other way is he would get material pricing from, let's just say, ABC Supply, and he would use that, and then he'd take that to SRS and grind that up, and then he'd go to Home Depot, and it's like there's no loyalty in that. And I watched that, and the other guy didn't do it that way. And I'm loyal to, like I have the same insurance agent. All my insurance is through that agent. I use one supplier. Now I have relationship with those suppliers as a backup if I need something, logistically, or my supplier doesn't have it and I need it right now. And then relationships with, I lost my train of thought, Jim. So I hope you're editing.
With the relationships so we're talking about, you went down the line of the vendor relationships and how important that has been and your, like, the relationship there. And we'll talk about that too. I think there was 2 sides to the loyalty relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You have the vendor side of things that like, hey, let's build good relationships with our suppliers, our manufacturers, we're going to know them all. They're all going to know us, but we're going to, this is going to be our
manufacturer. I use one shingle.
Yeah.
I use one brand of shingle, so it's just, I think those are important. But I'm not to interrupt you, but.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And how did you make the decision? Like, let's go back to, how did you make the decision of who to be loyal to?
Well, I did start out with, I started out with the same supplier, but with a different shingle. I used, the shingle from the guys that I learned the business from. But then I was approached by a different manufacturer, and he made a compelling case of why his shingle was better. And it was a good argument. And actually, it was, I think we can talk about brands.
You can mention whoever you want.
Certainty.
Yeah.
I mean, I started out with GAF, and I think GAF's got wonderful color palette. I just don't care for it from a quality standpoint. That's just a personal preference. I'm not saying it's a bad shingle. Not a good shingle for me. Love their colors, but don't like some other things about them. And we went to Certainty, and I was loyal to Certainty until the point of kind of the perfect storm. They had a manufacturing disruption in COVID, and my rep quit at the same time. And I had been courted by ICO, and we used ICO as a backup. So we were moving into doing multifamily projects, and ICO is a true square coverage, and that certainly helps in when you're doing 3,000 squares, 4,000 squares. And so now we're exclusive to ICO, and I'm never out shopping suppliers. I can call my SRS rep now and say I need a truck delivery this afternoon. He's going to make that happen because I am loyal to that relationship, and I can call my ICO rep and say, "Hey, can you handle this for me? Take care of this for me?" And that happens because I buy all my stuff with those people. So and I'm still on the supplier side. You want to go and talk about the other side of this, I think.
Yeah, let's talk about the other. So that's the, and so you may start off with one. It sounds like you made some decisions around quality,
yes,
around coverage,
Yes.
what was the best shingle for your business,
Yes.
in terms of the quality that you can install, plus the the true square from ICO is an advantage, especially on large projects. There's,
Yes.
and so you made, as you went along, you're like, oh, these are the decisions that we're making. And then on the other side of that, how did you choose which supplier to use, right? Like, because a lot of people starting out, they're like, man, there's this guy over here, there's this one down the street, ABC's over here, SRS is down here, like, which, I like this guy, I don't like that
Uh-huh.
guy, but their prices are better, but I don't like the rep. Like, there's a lot of things. Like,
Sure.
how did you come to land on, like those
Okay.
relationships? Yeah.
Sure. Well, my guys that train me, we'll call them my chasers. They had a rep when I first started with them, and he worked for ABC. And later on, he went to SRS, but I liked him. So when I was ready to go into business for myself, I contacted him, and
Mhm.
because of that relationship is why I liked him.
It's the
Yeah,
personal
the person.
relationship, and
Yeah.
that's what we see a lot of times, and almost, I mean, it's kind of interesting how if you are a person who develops great relationships, it's your book of business, right?
Mhm.
Like, and he was with ABC and now with SRS, and I would guess that there was some people that changed and went with, right? If you
Probably
are
so.
a rep for one manufacturer and another manufacturer, there's going to be
Mhm.
some
Mhm.
relationships that
Mhm.
carry through on the other
Mhm.
side.
Mhm.
And in thinking about that, you also built loyalty relationships on the sales side for your company through property managers, real estate agents, and insurance
Yeah.
agents. Let's talk through those loyalty relationships. How do you find the right ones to work with? How did you break into those? I mean, I can imagine a realtor's getting a phone call property managers must be getting phone calls and emails from roofers all the time.
Mhm.
You know, how do you stand out? How do you become the one that they want to give the business to?
I think, in the beginning, it's trial and error.
Yeah.
We're just cold calling all of those different vendors, or different sources for work. And, like I said, you find relationships that, yeah, they use you, but they exploit you. You go, okay, that didn't work, and you move on. But if you keep on in persistence, you will find the right people. Just like I like my rep
Yeah.
for SRS, and then you find this realtor you like, then you find this insurance agent you like, et cetera, et cetera.
Sounds like dating, Mike. I don't think either of us been in a dating pool for a
No.
while, but it sounds like dating to me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good analogy, actually. Yeah.
Right? You got to go on a lot of dates.
Mhm.
And you're going to find some people you like, and you're going to find some people you don't like.
Right.
what if what messaging or conversations or topics or problem solution kind of situations have you had, like, when you have your, now I'm assuming you're training your team on building their own relationships,
Yes.
and so when you're training them, how are you explaining to them, hey, this is what a realtor might be interested in from a roofing partner, or here's what an insurance, are
Mhm.
you
Uh-huh.
training them on, hey, this is what I would say to an insurance agent,
Uh-huh.
this is what I would say to a property manager?
Mhm.
How are you walking them through that and helping them get there faster?
We, our marketing person's prepared printed material, uh,
Mhm.
tells our story, who we are, why it would be good to do business with us. And there's links in there to videos that are testimonials, depending on if it's say a multifamily project, we'll have a link to one we did. Um, just information like that, just so they can go, okay,
Mhm.
and we're, 500 plus reviews at 4.9, and just all the things that we've done right. So we can tell that story about who we are and why you should do business with us.
It also sounds like you're telling a story that relates to them. So you may not tell a story to a property manager about how you helped a realtor
No, no.
close a deal, right?
Of course, in all those relationships, until you have the first one, you know what I mean? It's,
That's right.
yeah, you got to have the first one. And that's the tough one. You got to crawl before
So,
you can walk.
and that one, I believe a lot of people miss out on the opportunity of the honesty of, hey, we're new here.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for someone to give us a shot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
By giving us a shot, I'm going to give you my full attention, and I'm going to make sure that I do everything right above and beyond, because I want more relationships like yours. So there's you don't have to have the case study of, hey, we just did this 3,000 square apartment building, you don't have to have that.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask in a different way that is human and gets people to say, oh yeah, I'd rather work with someone who's going to pay attention, right?
Yeah.
Like who's going to give us their full focus. Um, how do you maintain those relationships? Because that's different than someone calls in and wants an estimate, right?
Yes.
Like that's a different relationship. How do you make them not forget about you over time?
I think, it's go back to like your analogy of dating. You nurture that relationship. If it's a good relationship, you want to take care of it. You stay in contact with them. You touch base with them. You bring them a gift. Might be some candy, or they like this, they like that. Kind of get to your people. Those people. What kind of triggers them, and you stay in touch with them. And then when you have a project to do with them, then you do it to the best of your ability. And like I said, you want to exceed their expectation every time you can, and we try to do that, and go back to multifamily. To give you an example, we did a 4,000 square multifamily start to finish in 5 days. And why that was important is these condos, I forget how many door fronts in these condos, that's just going to be a nightmare for the people. And somebody
for the people living there.
But it was going to take them about 2 months, and no one believed we could do it in 5 days. Now, the planning of that took a long time, but it worked.
Yes.
And we ran out. So we had any given day, there's 150 guys on roofs. We had 6 or 8 guys on the ground watching the 150. So it's quite an orchestrated project, but it worked out. But anyway, and I went way off in detail on that, but we have a great relationship with that company. So when they have other projects.
And now when you can tell the story of that, right, to another condo community.
Yeah, exactly. I have a story to tell. Yeah, I'm not going to be disrupting your tenants' lives for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's not right. But we're going to get in and out of there. Well, how do you do it that fast?
That's right.
We scale up to do it. A roof is a roof, and we just happen to have this many, so we need this many people, this much material, and just make it happen. And
and if you think about it from the perspective of if they're on the property management side, if it's an apartment building, boy, they're going to hear it. They're going to hear it. If it's been a month or 2 months, 3 months, and it's still banging and trucks in the way and debris and all, the people that live there, if it's a condo community, the board that approves that roof they're probably residents there.
Yes.
Right. So they don't want that. They want a great experience also. They don't want this going on for months and months and months. So that's fascinating to think like, hey, let's do something that no one is expecting, right? There's this customer experience that we're going to create. And I know that that's something that you've focused on a lot over the years. We had a conversation about it, like that's really how the competitive advantage that you've built in your business is that really tight focus and emphasis on the customer experience. Walk me through that. And walk me through the evolution of it, because man, I tell you, people think that you could just put all this in place at once, but I don't think it works that way. Right. I think that there's a feedback loop and you keep learning how to get better. So how was it in the early days? What was your focus, and what did you do intentionally for the homeowner, for the property manager, for whoever it was, for your customer? What were the things you did to create that exceptional customer experience when it was just you, essentially? And then how did you carry that over now to the team that you have?
Gosh, that's a tough question.
I
Me doing it
I asked the
myself.
tough ones.
Yeah. Well, when it was just me,
Before we carry on with the episode, let's give a shout out to one of our sponsors. Roofers, let's get real. You're great at building roofs, but are you great at building a steady stream of leads? That's where Job Nimbus Marketing comes in. They know the roofing industry inside and out, and they'll help you dominate Google, Facebook, reputation management, and everything in between. If you want more quality leads, more booked jobs, and more growth, visit the link in the description or the sponsors page on the Roofing Success Podcast website. I talk to contractors every day that feel stuck. Not because they're not working hard, but because they're missing the structure to growth without chaos. Or their culture's falling apart because their team's unclear, unaligned, or just burned out. And when change hits, they're reacting instead of leading because time and priorities aren't under their control. Day 41 Thrive helps to fix that with proven strategies for growth, culture, and leadership that actually work. Ready to thrive beyond the storm? Visit the link in the description or visit the Roofing Success Podcast website on the sponsors page to start your journey today. Fuel is one of the top 3 overhead costs for a roofing business. You need our sponsor, Coast, the fuel card built for the modern contractor. Here's why roofing companies are switching. 1, total flexibility. It's a Visa. Your crew fuels at the closest station to your job, saving you hours of billable time every week. Bulletproof security. With Coast's telematic integrations, the gallons purchased are checked against the actual tank capacity, so you'll be instantly alerted if a fill-up exceeds what the tank capacity is left. No portal charges, just a clean $4 per user monthly flat rate. Click the link in the description to get started with Coast. The Coast Visa commercial credit card is issued by Celtic Bank, subject to credit approval. Results may vary.
me doing it myself.
I asked the tough ones.
Yeah. Well, when it was just me, I'm there. I'm the first one there that day, and I would be the last one to leave that day. And I really like my sales guys to do that now. They should be there before anything happens because, the extreme horror stories is somebody went and tore the wrong roof off. And it had the person been there, the designated person, that's probably not going to happen. So, and I've been out there at night after dark. I'm helping the crew clean up because it's got dark. I'm doing that myself. I'm there during the day. I'm picking up trash myself. And I'm not there. I'm not going to be there all day doing that, but I'm there 15, 20 minutes can be very impactful, not just for the customer, but for the neighbors. They see, hey, here's a guy, in, he's not a roofer, obviously got a polo shirt on, slacks. He's out here picking up trash, and go knock on the neighbor's door next door where a rapper blew into the yard, say, hey, got some trash in your yard, could we take care of that and get it out, stuff like that. And you just take care of everybody the best you can every day. Every time you have an interaction with the customer, what can I do to make this as pleasant experience as possible? Like if they have dogs, they tell us the dogs, it's traumatizing the dogs. We have paid for the dogs to be taken to a dog daycare, for example, or we'll bring treats for the dogs. We give all of our homeowners gifts once the transaction is completed, and we do that with our other vendors too. Like if we have an insurance agent that refers to us, or real estate agent, or whatever. We're appreciative of those relationships. And I just started out, what can I do to take care and nurture and maintain this relationship? And I think the commitment to do what you say you're going to do, when you're going to do it. And if there's ever a problem, you took care of it, no matter what the problem was, even if it wasn't your fault. I mean, we've been accused of we broke this or we broke that. Well, we didn't. We have a picture of it, but I'm not going to argue with them about it because what did I gain? I didn't spend $29 for a light globe or something. I just want to
Yeah. So it's just the care for the customer. Why?
pardon me.
How does that become an advantage? Why don't this is a little bit out there.
No.
Well, why don't other contractors do this, man? Like like as you see your competitors and you're like, you could have done the simplest things and gotten this,
Uh-huh.
like,
And I'm not aware of what my competitors do or don't do.
yeah.
I mean, I'm in a pretty competitive market. I'm friends with my competitors in my market. I know them. We have each other's cell phone numbers, and we
Mhm.
talk good about each other. I don't know how they do their business. I'm not sure. You know, I don't know the answer to
Yeah.
that.
I guess maybe then it's why do the one I guess it's maybe it's just maybe it's the ones that end up on the news, right? It's
Yeah,
that maybe they're
sure,
the outliers,
sure.
right? Maybe it's that they're the outliers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we talked about Google reviews when we chatted last time, and it was like the most negative the most frequent negative review that I've seen across roofing companies across this country is they didn't call me back.
Yes.
They didn't communicate properly. They
Yes.
didn't they said they would have an estimate to me in 3 days and I never heard from them.
Hmm.
When it's you, you're in control of that, right? And you go, "Oh, yep, I screwed up. I got to get the,
Yes.
I got to get that." But now when you have the sales team that you have, what have you how do you make sure that they're communicating and taking care of customers the way that you would yourself?
So we have an accountability process. When we assign a lead, they have to respond to their sales manager that they contacted that lead within 15 minutes, preferably in 5 minutes, but no later than
Yep.
15. And at 15-minute mark, the sales manager's figuring out, what do I need to do, before this person calls somebody else. Uh, that part of it, and then they have to check in on the job. They have to take pictures, when they get to the job that morning at the front of the house and send it to their sales manager. So we know they're there. So we know the roofing crew is not going to show up at their own house.
Mm.
Okay.
You
And
don't just trust them to show up, Mike? Why not? Why would you have to watch anyone? No.
because, they slept late or traffic's bad or, whatever.
That's right.
Yeah. 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 Everybody's got an excuse for whatever. I mean, it just
That's right.
should have left earlier is what I would say.
But
I don't,
it's on the checklist now is what I'm
it is.
hearing. This
Yeah.
is
They
on the
have a checklist to
checklist,
follow.
right? Like
Yes.
this is on the checklist.
Yeah.
So this is what we do. We show
Yeah.
up, we take the pictures, we send it to the sales manager. We
Yeah,
we
and they have to
do
check
the
during the day.
activities. Yeah.
They have to check. They have to go check on their job if they're not. Uh, we have a production superintendent that's on site all day, so
Yep.
somebody is there all day, and that's a hard lesson we learned. As we grew and from the early days of not having that person there, and the guy had to go, grab lunch or go to a lead or whatever. The roofing crew, roofed over a hole in the roof or whatever. So it doesn't happen anymore. Have processes like that, but and they understand it. And I told them, look, if you make the appearance 2 or 3 times a day, the homeowner knows, even if you see them on a ring camera, they see you on a ring camera, or you take a quick video, 10-second video, say, hey, John, I'm at your house and here's what's going on. And looks like we're going to be finished on time and blah, blah, blah. Just constant communication with that customer. And then when it's done that evening, you get them to go out and walk. You walk around it first, and make sure, but then you get them to go out and walk around it with them. It's everything to your
Mhm.
satisfaction. Great. They're happy. They'll pay you, and you go down the road. And hopefully they have such a great experience that when they're at work or they're playing golf with their buddies or whatever that might be, and that subject comes up about a roof, go, hey, I know a company. And that's what I've really worked to do is to
Yeah.
leave them with such a good feeling about our company that it's in their presence of mind to speak about us well when that opportunity comes up.
If you had to lay out like the non-negotiables that create that good customer experience, that customer that make that speaks about you afterwards, that may refer you some business. Like if you had the non-negotiables, like this is the things that we do every time, and we make sure that this happens. Communication is this way, whatever it is. And I know you mentioned a couple of them, but what are those non-negotiables?
Gosh, you got me at a loss here. I mean, like I said, obviously show up first. Pardon
Yep.
me. Check on the job during the day. Check on the job at night. Uh, and make sure that you lay out what the expectations are. Here's what we're going to do. And, when we do these things, and then, you lay out how they need to pay us. When we finish this part, you need to pay this, et cetera. Lay all that out with them and just have communication is a big deal for me. I mean, you got to be in communication with your customer.
Yeah. How do you make sure, like it sounds like you have some checks and balances on that for the at least on the initial appointment set.
Mhm.
How do you make sure that your team is communicating throughout the process?
They make notes in the CRM system.
Yeah.
And sales manager monitors from there.
Yeah. So everyone's responsible
They are.
for notating.
Uh-huh.
Someone they own that part of the process, and
Uh-huh.
it's part of what we do. We make our notes here with that we did this, that we communicated this, that we got a response on that. This is what they said. They want this versus that. They like you're continuing that communication loop. Perfect.
And they've come to understand that by taking all those steps, that makes that customer service experience, pleasant for that person. And they're learning that when you do that, that's when you get into the referral side of this thing. And like you and I talked about the other day, I mean, it's so nice when you're going to a house and you've been vetted, so to speak, by your friend. So their guard is down. Their friend trusted you to do business, so they're going to trust you to do business.
Yeah, that transfer of trust is huge.
Yes.
That transfer of trust comes from the referral, but in nowadays also it could come from Google reviews. And we
Yes.
talked about this a little bit. And you told me something crazy, Mike. You're like, I don't want to be a 5-star contractor.
No. I don't believe this. I do not believe that exists. I think those are scrubbed by a third party. If somebody has a high, we're in the 500 plus reviews. If somebody has that many reviews, if they're a perfect 5.0, they never had a problem, there's a problem. It's construction. Something will go wrong. The key to that is, how did you handle it? And that's why I don't want to be a 5.0. I want to be a 4.9. And I want people that are looking to make a decision on who to choose to find that bad review or several bad reviews, however they have to look for that and see how did we respond to that. Customer is unhappy because this happened. The roofing company took care of this. I'm going, okay, I feel comfortable with that.
Have you ever had an unrealistic customer?
Oh, absolutely.
That you just, and that's the thing about, like, if you have 500 5-star reviews, it's like, really? You sure? Like, you never met this person right here? Because that person over there, there's some people there may be some people out there that have unrealistic expectations, to say it nicely, Mike.
Yes.
Like, they may they just, but it's how you respond.
Correct.
How should someone respond? Like, not just to a review, but how, when that customer, when that problem boils up, what are you doing? What's the process? How do you, what are you doing to make sure that at least you have done what you feel is adequate to solve their problem?
First of all, you need to identify what it is. Mr. Customer, what is it that you're not happy about? And they tell you what that is. And then you tell them what you feel like the solution is. And then get them to acknowledge that that's correct. That's what we want to happen. Then you do that. Whatever that is, as you and I talked about the other day, the customer's always right. And I said, even when they're wrong. And sometimes people exploit those situations, and that's fine. I can live with the exploitation of a few things here or there because I'd rather do that, and pay out of my pocket for something I'm not responsible for than to have them going around saying something, even though it wasn't true, the people that they're telling didn't know the difference, so all they know is
Yeah.
this guy's bad mouthing your company. And I just don't want that to happen.
Yeah. What's the craziest thing you've paid for?
Craziest thing I paid for.
Or
Well,
what's yeah.
well, and I will tell you, before we had a production superintendent, we did have a crew tear a roof off the wrong house. And obviously
Oh,
we roofed that house and never asked for a penny,
yeah.
and they didn't offer to pay. And
That
that's
was the
that,
beginning of a roof giveaway program? Is
that
that
was a
what you
roof
said?
giveaway. I can't think of, crazy thing. They were doing we have a historic area in downtown Georgetown. It's a pretty old town, and they got a square and a lot of houses that off the streets, off the square that are old and historical register houses. Something. Long story short, there's a flat roof part, and they were using a torch up there, and they had a propane bottle, and the propane bottle fell over, and the valve broke and started spewing fire. Well, they got that out really quick, but the water damage, fire
Mm,
department comes, and so there's a lot more water damage and fire damage. And I was there, as fast as I could get there from the office, and met with the homeowner and assured them that all of this is not a good situation. I'm going to do everything I can to make this as painless as possible for you. And we did. We had Serpro out, and we did everything as fast as we could do it to get them back, functioning in their house. That's probably the
yeah.
craziest thing, I guess, that ever happened.
Yeah, things happen, man. It's like,
Mhm.
this is construction,
Yep.
right? Like, this is and it and that's the hard part for some, and, even I think the other part is setting the expectations properly as to
Yes.
what's gonna happen. I think that's where people go wrong a lot, especially when you do this every day. You
You have to
forget
set you have
that
to
they
set them.
have no clue,
Yeah.
you
You have
know?
to set them and manage them. You set the
Set
expectation,
them and man.
manage. That's the key.
Yeah,
Setting's not effective if you don't manage it. You gotta manage that expectation.
yeah, yeah. You said something interesting to me. Um, you wish it wouldn't hail for a year.
Mhm.
Explain that.
Well, it's really easy, when you have a hailstorm to go out and, do business. And I think it makes people lazy. They don't use the resources they have available to do better than that. I mean, it's just this low hanging fruit out there. So if it doesn't hail, so what are you going to do now? I'm doing my part. I'm buying the leads. But what are you doing on your side? Are you building relationships? Like with the property managers? Well, we certainly don't know all of those people. From our efforts. So
Mhm.
there's plenty more. Uncharted water out there for you guys to go find those. Y'all need to build these relationships. Let's build a roofing company that, what if it doesn't hail this year and it doesn't hail next year? And what if it doesn't hail for 4 years? What are you going to do? And companies that are dependent on that are not going to survive that. So what we've done is just expanded to have two offices. So it gives us a bigger footprint,
Okay.
on a
Yep.
map. And the one that's in Marble Falls, a lot of the decisions about roofing out there are because they're remodeling older homes, or they had a tile roof, now they want a metal roof, or whatever that is. A lot of it's just discretionary things. It's not because not a need, it's just a want. And they have the ability to do that. So been a great market for us in that regard.
Yeah.
Um, lost it again.
That's alright. It's it what
In this market, but in this
uh,
market, if it doesn't hail for 4 or 5 years, um,
yeah.
what's the plan? I mean, and so
Yes.
what we did, so Marble Falls, and then we were just a shingle roofer, composition shingle. Now we're a metal
Got
roofer,
it.
and now we're a tile roofer. I've even done a wood shake roof that was fire retardant because that's in one of these historical homes.
Mhm.
So yeah, we can do whatever we need to do, and then to not obviously started out as a residential company. Now we diving into the commercial side of it, not in a big way, smaller projects, I would say. I'm not trying to go out and roof a Home Depot or a Walmart store, but smaller projects there and really have been after the multifamily market. We like that space.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, just the concept, just the thought process of if you are in a storm market,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
Like if you just go through the exercise of that,
Uh-huh.
right? Just go through the exercise of what happens if we don't have a storm,
Mhm.
right? Like what happens? Like what else do we have going on? What can we put in place now? Because it's much easier to put things in place when you have some cash flow coming in.
Of course.
When you wait for when all of a sudden there's no storm this year, and then you're on that second year without a storm, boy, it gets a lot harder to
Uh,
make those investments that you need to make that you could have made when you had a little bit of extra money in the bank account, right?
exactly.
Um,
And,
so
and early on, we didn't have hail the first few years. It was
yeah,
my good fortune to have develop some property manager relationships. And my supplier said, "Have you thought about having a dedicated repair team or person?" And I had not thought about that. I'd just get a roofing crew to go do this and go do that one. So, long story short, we've got a two-man repair team that stays booked out. We get to a point sometimes in the spring, summer where we actually need a third person. I can't seem to
yeah,
justify that quite yet year round, but yeah. So repairs have been good for us. And obviously that opens a lot of opportunity up. On repair, they'll come across a roof that needs to be replaced that no one knew until they needed a repair. And vice versa. We get
yeah,
called for a replacement roof. Well, good news, you need a $250 repair. So repair has
yeah,
been good for us in diversifying, getting into another market. And our market, that market kind of overlaps this one on a map, if you will. So just because from logistically how close they are to each other. So it just gives us a bigger footprint, more exposure. And
that
it doesn't hurt anything that we're in a fast growing market. Austin has kind of become the new
yes,
Silicon Valley. And it's just, I've lived here 12 years and I just cannot believe the growth in my time here. It's insane. And no
yeah,
sign of it
it's
stopping.
definitely a growing market. The repair side, I think, is, and I've had this conversation probably too many times on the podcast now, but i- that's such a missed opportunity.
Oh,
No one wants to buy no one wants to buy a roof,
yeah. And the
or
margins,
they're very there's in the margin. Yep, the
margins are
margins are
right.
good.
In fact, yeah, they're much higher than, profitability than roof replacement.
And I don't know how you guys are doing with it, but I know some companies that I know pretty intimately that I mean they'll flip, sometimes they'll flip, I think on average like 30% of the repair leads they'll flip to a full replacement
Mhm.
because the homeowner wanted a repair but it's not repairable,
Repairable,
right?
yeah.
Like it's just and someone else won't even take that call. They won't even run that lead.
Right. They missed an opportunity.
They missed a
That probably
huge
sounds more like
opportunity.
a non-hail market to me because so
Yes.
much hail here,
It's a retail market. Yeah,
every
that
now
was
and
a retail market. Yep.
every now and then the repair guys will flip us a roof. We
Yep.
flip more repairs to them than they do roofs to us because it helps so
Yep.
much.
But that's a great statement there too. We flip repairs to them.
Yes.
So now, that's telling me like you're thinking of the customer first,
Yes.
right? It's not, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, got great news for you.
Mhm.
You don't need a new roof today.
Mhm.
We're going to get our repair team out. We're going to get that taken care of for you.
Mhm.
Instead of $18,000, it's going to be 3.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
whew, that sounds great, Mike.
Mhm.
That's interesting that it's not only, I like that. It's not only that you're turning repair leads into replacements, or there's a potential to turn repair leads into replacements. There's another opportunity to serve a customer better and turn a replacement into a repair.
Mhm. And I
Yeah,
love
I
it
like that.
when that person that needs a repair has had someone out previous that told them they needed a replacement, and they
Yes.
feel good about that, or
Yep.
whatever reason, but it compelled them to make another call, and here we come to
Yeah.
save the day. So we feel like that in the event they need a roof in the near future, they're going to remember, that we took care of them the right way. We were honest with them.
Yeah. That's the what that it's all about the care for the customer, right? And
Yes.
taking care of them and doing the right thing for the customer at all times. Um, it comes down to that a lot. Um, we talked about kind of falling in love with the process
Uh-huh.
and always improving and you know what do you doing on an ongoing basis to like with your team? How do you create an environment that the whole team wants to continuously improve?
I think that for the new people, they see that where the guys that are kind of seasoned here, been here a while, see their success, and because of the culture, how I did it, how I told them that they should do it, because that's how it worked for me. You got to adapt it to your style, but pretty much this is kind of the guideline of how I would do
Uh-huh.
this. And they adapted their style. And these new guys see these other guys that aren't necessarily lead dependent. They've built good relationships. They just have people calling them randomly, and referrals and just like that, I think. Uh,
Yeah. So showing by example, right?
mhm.
There's the people that over the years have people been weeded out that didn't have that in them.
Sure. It took, when you're wherever you're at in the process in your journey, you think you got the right team. And
Yeah.
it's interesting to look back on that now, and the people that left or you had to have them leave, whatever, uh, it, you learn. I don't know how to say this. I don't know. I will tell you the team I have right now, administratively, sales, etc., is I don't know how it could be any better. But
Yeah.
it took a minute to get here. Is what I would tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're
That's what I
wherever you're at in that process, it seemed good then, but looking back, you think, yeah, and you work really hard to get there, and
yeah,
I'm really
and that's the thing. If we kind of make a sports analogy out of it, right? There's a new expansion team in the league,
Mhm.
right? And they get to, they get to draft some people, but
Uh-huh,
but
uh-huh.
they usually don't build the best team originally,
No.
right? They don't they're not LeBron James and Michael Jordans. They're not going to that team year
Mhm,
one,
mhm,
right? To start the franchise
mhm,
off, right?
mhm.
They're kind of they're building a squad, but then over time you're finding better people for each of the roles
Yes,
and some people and you're finding the right so sometimes it's the right combination of people too,
absolutely, absolutely.
right? It might not be like one specific person that makes the difference, but it's
Uh,
like, oh, these people work together in a
yeah.
way that we haven't had. They communicate better together.
Mhm.
They, whatever it is that, um,
Culture.
and it does take time. Yeah, the culture takes time to
Mhm,
build, and I really believe that we need to give ourselves grace in that and be self aware.
mhm,
If you're a new company and you have 9 reviews on Google and you show up next to Apex,
mhm,
you know, you better not expect a lot of calls,
mhm, mhm.
right? What are you up to? 500 and something reviews
Yeah.
now? Like
North of 500. Yeah.
north of 500 reviews, you know? So knowing where you're at in your business journey, right? Knowing where you're at, like, hey, we may not be that company yet,
Mhm,
but at this stage, we're going to grind it out. We're going to continue to make people happy, and
mhm,
we're going to continue to
mhm,
build this thing.
mhm,
And takes time, man. It
mhm,
takes real time.
mhm.
What would you tell the version of yourself from 2014 if you had to?
What would I tell my 2014
Yeah,
version?
what would the person who when you what would you tell the person that started the company? Like going back that many years when he got into roofing, you know, what advice would you give them from what you've learned along the way?
Gosh, that's a tough question. Uh, Stay the course. Believe in what you're doing. Do the right thing and stay the course, and just work through all of the obstacles that you're going to encounter. It'd be nicer if there was a school for this, because anybody that's done this has, when you talk to them, we've all had the same growing pains.
Yes.
Spending the wrong money, in the wrong marketing campaign, to hiring a person that in your gut you knew you probably shouldn't have hired, but you needed a person, not to do that again. And, you know, uh, just trust that, is don't give up. Just keep moving forward until you get it figured out. And I'm not saying I have it
Yeah.
figured out. I'm trying every day to make it better than it was. I want to have a company at some point that's not Google review dependent. I think that can be possible. And I think
Yep.
there are big companies out
Definitely.
there that do that. They don't have to do that. I don't want to spend the money I'm spending on that, but I'm paying my dues to get to that point. That's just part of the process.
Part of the process, man. Mike, thanks for your time today. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.